Hello. 2 people are dead tonight and another is missing after fire swept through a house at Saffron Walden in Essex.
The fire broke out this morning in a quiet lane. The search for the third person, still unaccounted for, will continue tomorrow morning. The details now from Richard Daniel.
Stuart Mill Lane in Saffron Walden is a tiny little road. Everyone who lives here knows pretty much everyone else. Tonight there is a deep sense of shock, however. The couple who died were Reggie Holding, he was in his late 70s, and his wife Phoebe, who was in her early 80s. It was a fire that killed not at night, but on a misty Friday morning. The alarm was raised by some builders working nearby, but it was already too late. Firefighters found the elderly couple's bodies inside, to the shock of their neighbours.
The smoke was just pouring out the top bedroom window. No one could have survived that at all. And as you can see, I think it's probably still smoking now, actually. And so it's been going for quite a long time.
It's upsetting, especially just before Christmas, you know, it is upsetting.
It was feared that a third person might have also been inside. A gas leak hampered the search, and with the building left structurally unsound, a specialist search team, more used to dealing with the aftermath of earthquakes, was brought in.
It is very tragic for Saffron Walden. It's a very tight community, and we will be looking to support the community, particularly as a result of this fire, and reinforcing our fire safety message.
Throughout the afternoon, the search of the house continued. Later, the bodies of the elderly couple were taken away by private ambulance. Tonight, the police are still trying to trace the third person who's unaccounted for. The search of the house will resume tomorrow morning. Now, the police are here tonight. They're going to stay through the night because, to all intents and purposes, this could actually be a crime scene. They simply don't know at this stage. The search will resume tomorrow. There's just one more room to search in this house. The hope is that that third person isn't inside and that they will be traced by the police and come forward. As for the cause of the fire at the moment, they simply don't know. The police and the fire have launched a joint investigation. Back to the studio.
Richard, thank you very much.
A coastal village in Suffolk is celebrating tonight after winning a tug-of-war over an old naval cannon. The 11-foot-long gun was at the centre of controversy 9 years ago when it was seized by officials. Today it was handed over to the village museum in Dunwich, where it will be on show.
Finally back where it belongs, the 1.5-ton 16th century bronze cannon. And for the man who originally lifted it from an unidentified wreck off the Suffolk coast 15 years ago, no disguising the joy.
It's like 20, 30, 40, 100 birthdays in one. It's really exciting, especially for a mature person. I mean, it's really something very special.
This was Stuart in 2001, looking on helpless after a team from the Royal Armouries, the official keepers of weaponry, descended unannounced in Orford, where the cannon was then kept. They claimed it wasn't secure, so took it to their base in Portsmouth for safekeeping and to go on show. Locals called it a disgrace and were, at the time it seemed, prepared to try anything to get it back.
There's even been suggestions we do an SAS raid on Fort Nelson. and people, you know, there's people who would have buried the gun if they'd have known in Orford. It would have been hidden in Orford.
Officials promised it would eventually return, and today the cannon, which was probably lost during the Battle of Sole Bay in 1672, was eased inside the tiny museum in Dunwich. And the man who initially took it and emerged as the villain of the piece couldn't have been happier.
I can understand that local people don't like to see their heritage moved out of the area, and I'm entirely sympathetic to that. So it's much more enjoyable to bring the gun back to Suffolk than it was to take it away.
We had quite a difficult job manoeuvring it through the back door of the museum because we've got 2 double doors. But we managed to finally get it in position, and we're very pleased to have it back in this part of the world, and it will be one of our main exhibits.
It would be hard to find a more appropriate new home for this cannon. It now sits just 2 miles from the wreck on which it was initially found, and it's nice to see this place, which down the years has lost so much to the sea, finally getting back such a precious piece of its maritime heritage. Kevin Birch, BBC Look East, in Dunwich.
Well, later in Look East, one of the leading experts in the world on climate change will be here to tell us why people... An appeal for privacy during the royal visit to Sandringham this Christmas is likely to fall on deaf ears, according to media pundits. The Queen has taken the unprecedented step of writing to editors asking for restraint. Growing interest in the romance between Prince William and Kate Middleton is expected to increase attention on the family. This report from Kim Riley contains flash photography.
Sandringham at Christmas. Images captured by a leading picture agency in the region, not all of them terribly flattering. It's this relationship that seems to have persuaded the Queen to fire a warning shot before the Christmas holiday even begins.
It's not pictures of the Queen riding her horse or somebody shooting at pheasants. What they're there for is the key picture, which says Royal Romance, Kate and William. And that photograph could be worth hundreds of thousands of pounds. If it is the right photograph and it's exclusive enough, it could be worth more than £1 million.
Great mass of royal family all at once.
It's well orchestrated.
Yes, oh yes, the timing is split second perfect, yes. Well,
over 25 years as royal correspondent of the Eastern Daily Press, Alison Cruz has watched the official photo opportunity, the family gathering for Christmas morning service at St Mary Magdalene Church.
Very informal, and I think we're very lucky in Norfolk that we have that opportunity to see them in such relaxed form, away from all the pomp and ceremony which surrounds their lives, or so much of their lives.
When was the most exciting period?
Definitely, I think when Diana was around, it was great, and when she was such a stunning figure, and her warmth as a mother, was really so obvious to see.
Visitors to Sandringham today told me the royal family deserved their privacy.
I think the press these days are very intrusive. Do we really care?
Long lens photography isn't right, isn't acceptable.
I'm sure that the media as a whole has perfectly adequate access without intruding excessively on their privacy.
The paparazzi actually make most of their money from foreign newspapers and magazines, not from Fleet Street, strangely. I think there's a fairly good, balanced and responsible relationship with Fleet Street most of the time.
The Queen hopes that'll remain the case when these two come for Christmas. Kim Riley, BBC Look East, on the Sandringham estate.
The East of England Ambulance Trust is to buy more vehicles capable of carrying severely overweight patients. The Trust usually relies on private crews using specialist ambulances. It's been reviewing procedures after the death of an obese patient who died after falling from a stretcher. Hundreds of operations in Norfolk are being cancelled because of pressure on A&E departments. The NHS says too many people are going to casualty when they don't need to. More than 200 operations have been cancelled in Norfolk in the past month.
A controversial bypass to the north of Norwich could be approved within days. Ministers are said to be ready to give their backing for the road, but possible cuts in public spending could still mean the road and others would still be in doubt. Here's our business correspondent, Richard Bond, on the southern bypass.
Hello, Stuart. Well, I'm actually in the village of Poswick, where, as you say, the southern bypass rolls by. The plan for the northern bypass is that it will peel off the A47 here and go up over the top of Norwich, if you like, towards Norwich Airport and beyond, if funds permit. Now, it's a big bypass scheme, but it's not the only one on the stocks.
Bypasses are so important to the communities they serve, often fought for years against the odds. Last week, Bedford opened its western bypass. Now, two other major schemes are edging nervously towards the starting line, hoping to survive the spending cuts which any incoming government may have to make to the transport budget. For years, traffic congestion has caused long tailbacks through the centre of Dunstable. Residents have been campaigning to get a bypass to the north of the town. The scheme has now received ministerial approval.
The financial state of the country is a good reason to fear that somebody somewhere might take our money away. But right now we have the funds, we have the ministerial approval, we have the plans in place. We can start, and we can start in as early as 2011 maybe.
In Norfolk, speculations mounting that a northern bypass for Norwich could be about to get the green light from Whitehall. It would cost more than £100 million and allow the building of thousands of new homes.
It'll allow us to implement certain schemes that are looking to the future to ensure that we can deliver enough housing and jobs to the area for future generations.
Both schemes have their opponents, but the state of the economy will ultimately decide whether funds are available to build them. Well, of course, after the election, we're being told that areas like health and education will be protected from spending cuts. That will mean that areas like transport will be disproportionately affected. So the test for schemes like this is, will they really get the hard cash they need to proceed?
Richard, thank you very much.